Tecumseh was born in about March of 1768. His place of birth is contested though. White frontiersmen slew his father at the Battle of Point Pleasant during Lord Dunman's War in 1774. Tecumseh did not witness battle of any sort until about 1780 during the Battle of Pucure. While he did not engage in combat, the sacking of his village was essential in his drive towards becoming a warrior. Tecumseh resolved to become a warrior like his father and to be a fire spreading over the hill and valley, consuming the race of dark souls. At age 15, after the American Revolutionary War ended in 1783, Tecumseh joined a band of Shawnee who aimed to stop the white invasion of their lands by attacking settlers' float boats traveling down the Ohio River from Pennsylvania. In time, Tecumseh came to lead his own band of warriors. For a while, these aboriginal raids became so effective that river traffic virtually ceased. The Shawnee were military allies with the British during the American Revolutionary War and repeatedly battled the Americans. Violence continued on the American frontier after the American Revolutionary War as the Northwest Indian War. A large tribal conference known as the Wabash Confederacy, which included all the major tribes of Ohio and the Illinois County, formed to repel the American settlers from the region. As the war between the Confederacy and the Americans grew, Tecumseh became a warrior and took an active part fighting along with his older brother, Tecumseh, an important war leader who essentially raised Tecumseh after their parents' early deaths. In early 1789, Tecumseh traveled south to live among and fight alongside a faction of the Cherokee. There, Tecumseh met Dragon Canoe, a Cherokee leader who was leading Aboriginal resistance against U.S. Western expansion. Tecumseh returned to Ohio in late 1790. Afterward, Tecumseh took part in several battles, including that of the 1794 Fallen Timbers. The Aboriginals were defeated by the Americans, which ended the Northwestern Indian Wars in favor of the Americans. Despite this loss, Tecumseh refused to sign the Treaty of Greenville, in which the Aboriginals ceded great portions of the Northwest Territory in exchange for goods valued at $20,000. Tecumseh eventually settled in what is now Greenville, Ohio, the home of his younger brother, Lalawathika. After difficult years as a young man who suffered from alcoholism, he became a religious leader, known as the Shawnee Prophet. He advocated a return of the Shawnee and other Aboriginals to their ancestral lifestyle and rejection of the Americans. He attracted a large following among Aboriginals who had already suffered major epidemics and dispossessions of their lands. The earliest record of Tecumseh's interaction with the Americans was in 1807, when the U.S. Indian agent William Wells met with Blue Jacket and other Shawnee leaders in Greenville to determine their intentions after a recent murder of a settler. Tecumseh was among those who spoke with Wells and assured him that his band of Shawnee intended to remain at peace and wanted only to follow the will of the Great Spirit and his prophet. According to Wells' report, Tecumseh told him that the prophet intended to move with his followers deeper into the frontier and away from the American settlers. By 1808, Tecumseh was among the leaders of a group who helped to establish the village of Prophetstown, near the confluence of the Wabash and Tippecanoe rivers, near present-day Battleground, Indiana. The site was in Miami tribe territory, and their chief Little Turtle warned the group not to settle there. Despite the threat, the Shawnee moved into the region and the Miami left them alone. Tecumseh was already contemplating a pan-tribal confederacy to counter American expansion into Aboriginal-held lands. Tecumseh emerged as a primary leader of this confederacy. Tecumseh emerged as the primary leader of this confederation. Tecumseh and William Henry Harrison had both been junior participants in the Battle of Fallen Timbers at the end of the Northwest Indian War in 1794. Tecumseh was not among the signers of the Treaty of Greenville. After the Treaty of Greenville, most of the Ohio Shawnee settled in the Shawnee village of Wapakoneta, where they were led by Black Hoof, a senior chief who had signed the treaty. In September of 1809, William Henry Harrison, governor of the newly formed Indiana Territory, negotiated the Treaty of Fort Wayne. Tecumseh's opposition to the treaty marked his emergence as a predominant leader. Tecumseh revived an idea advocated by the Shawnee leader Blue Jacket and the Mohawk leader Joseph Brant that stated that Aboriginal land was owned in common by all. As Tecumseh was not ready to confront the United States directly, his primary adversaries were initially the Aboriginals who had signed the treaty. An impressive orator, Tecumseh began to travel widely, urging warriors to abandon accommodationist chiefs and to join him in resistance of the treaty. Tecumseh insisted that the Fort Wayne Treaty was illegal. Tecumseh met with Indiana Governor William Henry Harrison to demand the rescission of land purchase treaties the U.S. had forced on the Shawnee and other tribes. Harrison refused and was warned that Americans should not attempt to settle on the land sold in the treaty. In August 1810, Tecumseh led 400 armed warriors from Prophetstown to confront Harrison at his home. Their appearance startled the townspeople, and the situation quickly became dangerous when Harrison rejected Tecumseh's demand and argued that individual tribes could not have relations with the United States, and that Tecumseh's interference was unwelcome by the tribes in the area. Tecumseh began inciting the warriors to kill Harrison, who responded by pulling his sword. The small garrison defending the town quickly moved to protect Harrison. As they left, Tecumseh informed Harrison that unless he recited the treaty, he would seek an alliance with the British. In 1811, Tecumseh again met with Harrison at his home. Tecumseh told Harrison that the Shawnee and their native brothers wanted to remain at peace with the United States, but these differences had to be resolved. Following the meeting, Tecumseh traveled south on a mission to recruit allies among the 5 civilized tribes. Despite Tecumseh's effort, most of the southern nations rejected his appeals. However, a faction among the Creeks, who became known as the Red Sticks, answered his call of arms, leading to the Creek War. Tecumseh rallied his Confederacy and allied his force with the British Army, invading the Northwest Territory from Upper Canada. He joined British Major General Sir Isaac Brock in the siege of Detroit, helping to force the city's surrender in August of 1812. At one point in the battle, as Brock advanced to a point just out of range of Detroit's guns, Tecumseh had his approximately 400 warriors parade out from a nearby wood and circle back around to repeat the maneuver, making it appear that there were many more warriors under his command than was actually the case. Brigadier General William Hull, the fort commander, surrendered in fear of a massacre. The victory at Detroit was reversed a little over a year later. The British found themselves in an indefensible position and had to withdraw from the city. They burned all public buildings in Detroit and retreated into Upper Canada along the Thames Valley. In spring of the next year, British forces under Proctor and Aboriginals, led by Tecumseh, attacked U.S. territory and besieged Fort Meigs, finally without success. Proctor did not have the same working relationship with Tecumseh as his predecessor, Brock, and the two disagreed over tactics. Proctor favored withdrawing into Canada and avoiding battle while the Americans suffered from the winter. Tecumseh was more eager to launch a decisive action to defeat the American army and allow his men to retake their homes in the Northwest. Meanwhile, Harrison pursued the retreating British and Allied tribes. When Proctor's forces failed to appear at Chatham in Upper Canada, Tecumseh reluctantly moved his men to meet up with Proctor near Moraviantown. He informed Proctor that he would withdraw no further. He told Proctor that if the British wanted to continue help, then an action needed to be fought, and that they should await Harrison's army there. On October 5, 1813, the Americans attacked and won a victory over the British and the natives at the Battle of the Thames. Tecumseh was shot through the body. The fatal bullet came from behind a fallen tree. Shortly after the battle, most tribes of the Confederacy surrendered to Harrison at Detroit. Several of Harrison's soldiers had claimed to have killed Tecumseh. Tecumseh's death and the defeat of the British Native American alliance was a decisive blow to the front. It had larger implications during negotiations for the Treaty of Ghent. Tecumseh is honored in Canada as a hero and military commander who played a major role in Canada's successful repulsion of an American invasion during the War of 1812, which, among other things, eventually led to Canada's nationhood in 1867 with the British North American Act. Among the tributes, Tecumseh is ranked 37th in the Greatest Canadians list.